welcome back to HashrateUp Focus. Today, I would like to concentrate more on the cost side of things when it comes to mining. We already talked to the hash price and we had 2 episodes out on that, which you can check out after this if you want. I want to talk about cost because that's the side of things that we can really control in mining. So that's where it gets interesting. So let's hop straight in.
HashrateUp, hardware sales, advisory, hosting, and site brokerage. Find new and used ASIC deals through the website and the Telegram channel below. Make smarter decisions with HashrateUp.
The way I like to think about cost is in a per kilowatt hour manner, because all of our revenue is also denominated in hash price, yes, but it influences how much money per kilowatt hour we are making. And therefore, it's very interesting to understand what our cost per kilowatt hour is, right? So the idea here for this video is to explain how I like to think about cost and to explain how we do that, right? So if we want to divide all of our costs by the amount of energy that we are consuming, then to reach that per kilowatt hour cost, then we need to first understand how much power are we consuming, right? In this first example, we have a 5 megawatt mining farm, and I want to kind of go through the cost of a 5 megawatt mining farm that's somewhat realistic to transport the idea a little bit more in detail, right? So on a 5 megawatt mining farm, you would have 5 megawatts of power, or 5,000 kilowatts. The hours per year is 8,760. We can anticipate an uptime of around 95%. That's reasonable. So the operational hours are 8,322, and the total consumption, which would be our operational hours times the 5 megawatt, would be 41 million kilowatt hours, right? And now we'll start at the top to get to our cost per kilowatt hour, right? We have the electricity, 4 cents. We have the wages and the admin. We have facility lease. We have insurance, depreciation, financing cost, network and pool fees, maintenance and repairs, all of this good stuff that you see on the left. And then I have approximate values, right? So logistics, sending ASICs in and out, 44,000 per year. Cooling and ventilation, right? This is important. We don't consume all of the power at our mining farm for ASICs. Some of it, about 5%, goes to cooling and network equipment and all kinds of other stuff. Security, right? Security and monitoring, 44,000. Maintenance and repair, often very underappreciated. About 1% of your capex per month, right? $200,000. Depreciation, this is something you can add. You don't have to if you're hosting, for instance, right? Some people leave it out, I guess. But if you sort of look at all of these values, you can look at the numbers I put next to it. And then all I did really is divide the total annual number by the total annual kilowatt hours consumed. And then we get to our per kilowatt hour cost. So about 4 cents per kilowatt hour for energy. Wages and admin is about 0.0063 cents, right? It's really small numbers, but obviously they add up. Filters, you can see all the metrics here. I mean, I don't have to explain them all to you. If you want, you can pause the video and have a look at them. So the all-in cost here is 0.0978 cents, right? So even though your cost of power might be 4 cents, the overall cost per kilowatt hour is actually 10 cents. And we'll get to, in the later part of the video, we'll get to why this is important. So this really tells you why it is so important to run a lean operation, right? Yes, your power cost is 4 cents, but then you have all of this other cost. And again, this could be wildly off, but this is where the competitive edge comes in. This is where every miner can control their calculation, their profitability, by optimizing each and every one of these factors and making sure they run an operation that's as smooth as possible and as lean as possible, right? So yeah, remember this number, 0.0978 cents per kilowatt hour. I don't know what this is.
BitX, solomining.de, got it. Premium, made in Germany. You want to go fancy? Go for NerdX or NerdQX++ for a lot of power. Worldwide shipping. Check out solomining.de today.
So let's imagine you're hosting, right? If you buy a machine and you host it, let's say at 7.5 cents, then you're spending about $2,185 on hosting fees per year, right? Now the idea here in the blue table is the same. Your miner might consume 3.5 kilowatts hours per year uptime. You get the idea, right? The total consumption for that miner in a year at the mining farm where you are hosting it might be around 30,000 kilowatt hours. And now I've just added, just for explanation, I've added the maintenance and repairs part again, because that can happen to your miner as well. And now you need to spend money to fix the machine, right? So for your hosting contract, the cost basis or the cost per kilowatt hour might just be 7.5 cents, but then you have to add this cost on top of it. So your true cost here is 0.0887. Now, this is likely a bit too, or not conservative enough, or this is like too conservative, excuse me. This should probably be a bit lower, but again, this is just for all right, so this is where we talk about revenue and cost again and bring it all together, right? So on the left, this is a example for an M60S Plus machine. At hash price 30, the M60S Plus makes about $6 per day in revenue, and at hash price 75, it makes about $15.45 per day in revenue. On the opposite side of things, cost, right? At 4 cents, we have $1, $3 per day that it costs me to run the machine. And if my hash cost is right around sort of 10 cents, right, then it costs me about $8.40 to run the machine per day, right? And at the end of the day, this is all about making profit, right? What do we see here, right? So this is our hash cost matrix. This is basically just revenue minus the cost to get to our profit. If we run an M60 and hash price is around $50, as well as our hash cost being at sort of 7 cents, then we make a profit of $4.42 per day, right? We had this example in the hosting example. In the hosting scenario, our hash cost per day, including the maintenance, was about 8.87 cents. And in our 5 megawatt operation, the cost was slightly higher, 9.78 cents. Right. So this now tells us, hey, if hash price in our 5 megawatt operation, if we run on average 5 megawatts of M60s, right, then our break-even point is right around that $40 hash price mark. If hash price falls below 40, now we're in the red zone, minus $1, right? Let's say we're running a fleet that's maybe on average slightly older. Let's look for a K Pro, for instance, and now you can see it gets a bit more drastic, right? So now our break-even point is around that $55 hash price mark. And below that, we have to turn off, right? In the hosting example, it's slightly better because our cost is slightly less, but it's still not super great, right? This is also why when hash price falls, you see that the difficulty adjustment usually goes down. Why? Because the more hash price falls, the more people reach their calculated break-even point and have to turn off their machines in order not to lose money. Right. I hope this made things a bit more clear. I will leave a link to this in the description so you can copy this and adjust your own numbers and fill it out for yourself and play around with it. If you want to host a miner, let me know. We can talk about it when it's a good idea and when it isn't. And leave a like, leave a subscription, all that good stuff. Leave a comment. I know these videos have been received quite well, so I hope they bring some value to you as well. And with that, have a good day.